my name is Joe. In this video, I will show you how to create a React app and make a backend using Express and deploy it on Heroku and host it on GoDaddy and set up your SSL and redirect all HTTP requests to HTTPS. So first step is to open up Visual Studio Code, open up a new terminal, and CD to the desired location of where you want your project to be. And then make a new directory and name it what you would like. I'll call mine Joe's Heroku demo. And then CD to that directory and open it in a new window using code space period. And that will open up a new window in Visual Studio Code. So we'll open that up and close your old window. And you can tell that we are indeed in our new directory. So open up a new terminal. And now we're going to create the React app. So we'll do that using a command npx create-react-app and then name it what you would like. I will call mine client. And now this will run. It will take a few minutes and I'll pause the video and return when this has completed. Okay, so the command has ran successfully and we can see here it has created a folder for us and has several directories inside of it, including node modules, public, src. So now we want to do npm init-y from our root directory. This will create a package.json. As you can see, it's outside of the client directory. This is important to do for Heroku. So I will also install Express at the root directory by doing npm install Express. And we can check that it did work by going into the package.json, and under dependencies, we can see Express here. So now I'm going to create a file, and I'm going to name mine server.js. And this is where I will put my Express code. So I'll start by importing Express. Then I will import the path module, which will be used to manipulate our directories. I will make an instance of Express. I'll call it app. In this line, I'm declaring where I will serve my static files from once we build the project, which you will have to do in order to deploy it to Heroku. So I'm saying I'm going to serve them from a file called public. And if you note the file path, you can see that it's not referring to the public folder that was created in client. It's referring to a public folder that at this point does not exist. So I'm going to create that now. And continue on with my server.js file. So here I'm creating a route slash API. So once we get this backend running, we can go to localhost and then our port number slash API, and we should see this message, and that will confirm that our backend is running successfully. So there I'm saying, I'm making a variable port and saying we can either use process.env port or a specified port number. In my case, I use 5000. And then we're telling Express to listen on that port number that I specified there. And when we start our server, we should see this message here rendered into the console. So there's one other thing I need to do in the package.json, and that's create a start script. So in my case, it will be node server.js. After node, you want to name this whatever your file is called, where you put your Express code. And I already have Node installed. If you don't, you can simply go to the Node.js website and download it there. And then once you do that, you can run this command here, node -- version, and that will tell you if you have Node installed. If you see a version number, that means it is successfully installed. So now our server.js file is complete for now, and let's go into our client directory. And in that package.json, I'm going to add something to our build script. And there's many different ways to do this. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily the best way, but I found that this way does work. So this is the way I like to do it. So in the build script, I'll add this line of code here. So if you don't understand that, no worries. Basically what this is going to do is when we build our project, a build folder will be generated into the client directory because we will run that command from the client directory. And once that happens, it's also going to delete any files that are in the public folder in our root directory to clear those out for the newer version of the files that we just built. And then, so clear that out, and then it will generate a build folder in the client directory and populate that with our static files, which we will need to deploy to Heroku. And then it's going to copy those files from the build folder and put them here in the public folder because that's where we said that we will serve our static files from. So before we go any further, let's test that our backend is working. From our root directory, we'll run npm start. And it may take a moment. So as you can see, our message that we console logged right here, server start on port, and then for me 5000, it is showing up. And we can also confirm this by using a tool like Postman, or you can simply go into your browser and say localhost 5000 in my case, and then /API was the route we created. And you will see this message here. This is the API endpoint, which is what we put right here. So that is working. And then while we're at it, we could do Control-C and stop this process, or we could open up a new terminal. I'll just do Control-C, and I'm going to CD into client. And let's test that the create React app is working. We haven't altered anything on it yet, except we added something to the build script, but let's just do npm start, and you can see what the create React app generates by itself. So this will take a moment to open, and then this should open a tab in your browser at localhost 3000, and we should see the default create React app. There's a React logo that we should see. Okay, so it's compiled successfully, and we can open it up in our browser. And as you can see, we're at localhost 3000. So it is, our front end is working. So let's return to VS Code. I'll just hit Control-C and stop that. And now if you notice, I'm in the client directory. And if you notice, there's this word here, master. So when you do create React app, it automatically initializes a Git repository into your React app. So if I were to cd into my root directory, you will see that that word master is not there. So what that master is a Git branch. So when I push to GitHub, I want to push everything, all my files. So instead of pushing from client, I'm gonna initialize a Git repository at the root. But before I do that, I want to remove this this Git repository from the client branch, or from the client directory. So in order to do that, from the client directory, I will do this. So rm -rf.git. And now you can see that that master has disappeared. So we've removed the Git repository there from client branch. So now I'll cd into my root directory, and I'll say git init. So now let's initialize an empty Git repository at my root directory. So now let's actually go create a repository in GitHub, so you can see how we would add this code to your GitHub repository. So I'll make a new repository. Call this YT Heroku demo. Create that. And then just copy this here. You can just hit this button right there. Go back to VS Code. So now let's set our Git remote, so we can push from the command line to our GitHub repository. So I want to do that from the root directory, and I will say git remote, add origin, and then just paste that link right in there and hit enter. And we can check that it worked by saying git remote -v. And now you can see that we set our git remote to the repository that we just created. Okay, so we have set our git remote to the repository that we just created. And before we commit and push to that repository, let's do something else here in the root directory. We want to create a file .gitignore. And in that file, just type /node_modules and save that. This is going to tell basically GitHub when we push that we do not want to include our node modules when we commit and push to GitHub. And if you look into your client directory, you can see that Create React App already created one for you, and it includes the node modules there. So now that we have that done, let's do a first commit to our repository. So from our root directory, you'll say git add period. And of course, make sure all your files are saved prior to doing this. Git commit and -m and write a little message. I'll say first commit. So it's committed all my files. And now I'll say git push origin. And in my case, my branch name has been called master. So git push origin master. And now that should push all of our files in our project to GitHub. You can go check. You just refresh this page, and you can see all of our files are visible there in GitHub. So now let's return to VS Code. Okay, now let's build our project. So let's cd into client directory, and we're going to run npm run build. And you can see here it's executing that script that we created in our package.json for our build script. So this will take a few moments, and you can see here it's generated a build folder. So I'll pause and return when this is completed. Okay, so it's built our project successfully. So now let's get our Heroku app created and set up. So assuming you already have a Heroku account, if you don't, you'll need to go create that. And I've already installed the Heroku CLI, so you'll also need to do that. You can, I believe, go into Heroku and do it, or you could just Google download Heroku CLI, and that should work. It's pretty self-explanatory. So now I'm going to cd into my root directory, and I'm going to do Heroku login. So this will prompt me to type any key other than Q, and it's going to open up our browser, and we're just going to wait for this to run here. We'll press any key, and our browser will open up, and we just click login. And after you do that, you can close this up and return to VS Code. And you can see we're logged in as whatever email address you created your Heroku account with. So now let's create a Heroku application. So say Heroku create, and then name your app what you would like. And I believe this name has to be unique across all of Heroku. So if it doesn't work your first time, just try to name it something else that's more unique. So I'll call mine Joe's Heroku Demo. Okay, so that's successfully been created. So we can go to our Heroku dashboard. I'll refresh mine. And you can see here, Joe's Heroku demo has been created. So click on that and go into the deploy tab and scroll down a little bit, or look here at the bottom. And we're going to copy this command here and return to VS Code and paste that in. So now what that did was set the Git remote for Heroku. So now let's push to Heroku, and which will deploy our application. So we're basically going to do the same steps as GitHub, except the push command is going to be just slightly different. So from our root directory, we'll say git add period, and then git commit -n, say first Heroku commit, and then git push, and this time we'll say Heroku master. So now you'll see it working, and it's going to build our project, and should go rather quickly. And you can see here there's a message, build succeeded. It's going to finish off building it. And once that's done, you can just click this link here, control click, open that up, and you can see that it has indeed built our application and deployed it successfully. You can see the URL here is your app name .herokuapp.com. So this has worked. So now let's return to VS Code and say you want to make some changes to your application. You've worked on it for a while, you've made some updates, and you need to build it again and deploy it to Heroku. So for example, I'll go into my src folder and go to app.js, and let's just change what we have here. And I'll just make an H1 tag and say, hello world. And we get a little warning because we're not using the logo here. So you could delete that or comment it out for now. Save all your files and let's build it and deploy it once more now that we've made a change to it. So you just cd to client, npm run build. So this will be the workflow that you will do when you're updating your project and need to redeploy it to Heroku. So it's going to build your project. It's going to delete and basically replace everything in your public folder with what's newly been added to the build folder and client. So that's completed. So now from our root directory, we'll say git add period git commit -m, say updated app.js, and then git push Heroku master. And you can also push it to GitHub as well. There's also a way to set up, I believe it's called automatic deployments. So when you push to GitHub, it will automatically deploy to Heroku. So this is building again. You see it still succeeded again. I'll just close out of this. And let's open it back up. So as you can see, our changes have been made and built and deployed to Heroku. So that's working. So now let's go into Heroku dashboard and let's go into settings. Let's set up the SSL and the domain name now. So in settings, let's scroll down to the domain section and click add domain. And this is where you'll enter the name of the domain that you have purchased. So write www. Then your domain name.com. Click next. And copy this DNS target that it has created for you. And go to your hosting provider. I will be showing you GoDaddy. Navigate to your correct domain and go to DNS. So we're going to add a new record. The type will be CNAME. Then in the name field, write www. Then paste in your DNS target. And then you can make this what you like. I'll make it half an hour and save. So GoDaddy says it could take up to 48 hours to update globally. So now return to Heroku's dashboard and click on Configure SSL and click on Automatic Certificate Management or ACM and click Next. And now you'll see the ACM status is waiting. So we can click refresh ACM status and it may not work at first, but there it goes. It did work. So certificate status refreshed. If you do get an error there, give it a little time and try to refresh it after several minutes. So now that we have that done, you can go to your actual domain name. I'll click it right here because it says your app can be found, and then it has your domain name that you just linked up. And you can see that our app is working and we're at the correct domain name. So if you click here, if I click on this tab, you can see that was our Heroku app that was deployed to Heroku. And then we connected our domain name to that app. And you can see that it is working successfully here. So there's another thing that I'd like to show you. And that is that you can see here it's secured. And if I were to copy and paste this link, say up here, say to Google, you can see it's HTTPS. So it is, this SSL certificate is working correctly for HTTPS. But what if somebody accessed your site from HTTP? As you can see, it's not secure. So let's go back to VS Code and let's fix this. So we'll make it so if someone were to access your site through HTTP rather than HTTPS, it will automatically redirect it to HTTPS. So let's go to VS Code, and we're going to do this in our server.js file. So there's really only two things that we need to add here. So, and also the order in which you place these lines of code is very important. And if you place it in the wrong place, it will not work. So make sure it's before this line here. So here we've just imported Express, imported our node, our path module, and we've made an instance of Express. So after that, I'm going to say process.env node underscore env and set that to production. And then under that, I'll add a bit more code. So what this portion of code is doing is we're checking if our node env environment is set to production. And we know that it is since we declared it right here above. So if it is set to production, then we're adding a middleware function to Express, and we're checking whether the request is using HTTPS or not. So if it already is using HTTPS, then the next function here will just execute. And what that next function does is it just passes the request to the next middleware or route handler. So it will just basically continue on with our code. However, if the request is not sent with HTTPS, so we're saying if this X forwarded proto header is not equal to HTTPS, then we're going to redirect it to our correct URL. So by doing res.redirect, we're declaring HTTPS, and then we're essentially constructing a new URL by using our rec.header and then our host. So that would be your domain name, and then the rec.url portion would be if you had any like endpoint to your domain name. So make sure to save all your files and let us build it once more, deploy it once more, and check that our HTTP requests are being redirected to HTTPS. So cd into your client directory, do npm run build. That will build our project once more. So that's completed. cd to our root directory, and let's deploy it to Heroku again. So git add period git commit -m, and then say your commit message. I will say added HTTP to HTTPS redirect. git push Heroku master. And let that run and build and deploy your project. All right, build succeeded. Let's close this out. And let's open this link here just to confirm the Heroku build was successful. All right, now let's go to our website. We can first test HTTPS. So that's working as it previously was. Sorry, now let's do HTTP and your domain name. And now you can see that it is redirecting to HTTPS. If I copy this link, you can see it's HTTPS, even though I typed in HTTP. And a good way to test this is also to open up like an incognito tab and do HTTP and then your domain name. Confirm that it is indeed redirecting to HTTPS. And I like to test it also from a secondary or even a third browser. So I'll open up Firefox real quick and I'll type HTTP and then my domain name. And even Firefox is working. A private tab in Firefox. That's working. So we have confirmed that our HTTP our HTTP requests are redirecting to HTTPS successfully. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was very helpful for you. And if you do have any questions, please leave me a comment. I'll do my best to get back to you. And if you do have any suggestions for other videos you'd like to see, if you enjoyed the way I explain things and my workflow, please leave me a comment or a suggestion on other videos you'd like to see. And good luck and thanks for watching.